From saving a child from a well to forming a human chain to save an entire family, here are 10 amazing rescue stories. Number 10. Exploding Train. In 1907, 23-year-old Jesús García Corona was working as a brakeman on a railroad in Mexico. While taking a break, he realized that there was smoke in the air. After looking around, he found that the chimney stack of the train had blown back onto the first few cars and had ignited all of the hay that was being transported. Of course, it was hay. Normally, this wouldn't have been too much of a concern, but the cargo being carried further down was unusual on this day because besides the hay, the other carriages were full of 70 boxes that contained dynamite, detonators, and fuses. Great combination. What's worse, the train was currently in the train yard at the center of town and surrounded by gas tanks and dynamite stores that would have surely detonated too if the fire reached the rear carriages. Recipe for disaster. And more like the plot of an action movie than real life. Without a single thought to his own safety, Garcia drove the train in reverse downhill for 6 kilometers before it exploded, saving the lives of everyone who lived in the mining town. The one fatality was Garcia himself, who stood no chance in the face of the explosion. Number 9. Jessica McClure. The story of Jessica McClure became famous across America in the late 80s and went on to inspire an episode of The Simpsons, and even featured in the music video for Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. In 1987, when she was just 18 months old, she was at her aunt's farm in Midland, Texas. Her aunt had turned her back for a moment, and right at that second, Jessica fell into a 20-foot deep, disused well that was just 8 inches wide. She was trapped. Her rescue took 2.5 days, during which the scene became a media frenzy and was broadcasted around the world. Rescuers found her recovery far more difficult than first expected, and they were forced to dig a parallel hole to the same depth and then dig across to free her. It took the combined efforts of engineers, mining experts, contractors, and paramedics to complete the task, and she was finally brought back to the surface 58 hours after falling in. To this day, she has no recollection of the incident that engrossed a nation, but lives with the scars of her ordeal, which included the amputation of a toe and the need for more than 15 operations and 9 blood transfusions over the following years. Number 8. Teens rescue kidnap victim. In 2013, 5-year-old Jocelyn Rojas had been playing in her front yard when she went missing. Police feared she had been lured by a man who was offering ice cream, and immediately they set about searching the neighborhood, asking everyone if they had seen her. Watch out for those ice cream trucks. A 15-year-old boy, Tamar Boggs, and his friends heard about her disappearance and wanted to help. They set off on their bikes in search of Jocelyn, and after about half a mile, spotted a suspicious sedan with the girl inside. They gave chase and followed it for 15 minutes. The driver tried to evade the boys, but somehow wasn't able to, and feeling the pressure, he stopped at the top of a hill and let the girl out. The boys took her back to her parents and were immediately hailed as local heroes. Unfortunately, the kidnapper was never found, but Tamar and his family were extremely proud that he had rescued the girl that day because of he and his friends' quick thinking. Number 7. SS Andrea Doria. The Titanic disaster is one of the most well-known ocean tragedies ever, but in 1956 it almost happened all over again, if it wasn't for the brave attempts of rescuers. The SS Andrea Doria was an ocean liner for an Italian line and was headed towards New York. As it passed Nantucket, Massachusetts, however, it collided with the SS Stockholm that was traveling in the opposite direction, as if the ocean weren't big enough. The Andrea Doria was struck in the side and began to leak almost immediately. This left half of its lifeboats unusable, but luckily the boat stayed afloat for a further 11 hours before sinking. The crew were able to radio for help, and the rapid response made by the other ships in the area meant that 1,660 people were rescued before it sank, although 46 people died. The clever design of the boat and the speed at which others managed to get there to help makes the story of the SS Andrea Doria one of the most successful ocean rescue stories ever, especially for one that could quite easily have gone so much worse. And now for number 6, but first be sure to subscribe if you're new here. Number 6. Everest Rescue. Mount Everest is the holy grail for mountaineers and attracts people from all around the world who want to scale it to the summit. Despite our knowledge of the mountain being far greater than it ever was, it's still a dangerous and challenging endeavor. In 2017, for example, more than 445 people had climbed to the summit from the Nepali side, but at least 7 died during their attempts. In 2006, 50-year-old Lincoln Hall was climbing the mountain but was pronounced dead by the Sherpa guides after showing no signs of life for 2 hours. They were then forced to leave him where he was or risk running out of oxygen themselves. The next morning, though, another climbing team came across Hall, who was alive and disoriented. He was sitting half naked with his legs hanging over the edge of a cliff, just chilling, and simply said, "I imagine you are surprised to see me here." The team gave him oxygen, medicine, and a much-needed cup of tea before helping him along the 11-hour trek back to the North Col camp. By the time they got him there, he had severe frostbite, a chest infection, and water in his brain, but went on to fully recover. Many others on Everest have not been so lucky. Number 5. Lifting a train. You've probably heard before of how people can summon extreme strength in an emergency situation, like a mother being able to lift a car off her baby, but this next story takes this to a completely new level. When trying to get off a train in Saitama, which is just to the north of Tokyo, a woman fell into the gap between the train and the platform edge. This happens more often than you think. Luckily, she was spotted before the train moved off, and an announcement was made asking for people to help out. What happened next was amazing. About 40 other passengers, along with station staff, worked together to push the 32-ton train car off of her so she could escape. The cars are designed to sway from side to side for when they travel across curves in the track, so they were able to create just enough space so that she could be pulled up to the platform without serious injury. As she set her foot on the side, a loud cheer erupted between all who had been a part of the rescue, and the train was soon on its way again with a delay of only 8 minutes. Number 4. Escape from burning apartment. In times of crisis, people often find themselves relying on strangers taking their lives into their own hands to help out. During a fire that raged through a 5th-floor Manhattan apartment in 2013, strangers came together to help, demonstrating the true New Yorker spirit in action. The fire had gotten so out of control that the man who was working inside had no choice but to exit through the window and hang on for dear life as toxic fumes and thick black smoke bellowed out above him. Rosindo Lopez, the manager of the adjacent building, quickly leapt into action and wedged a ladder between the outside staircase of his building and the window of the apartment beneath the dangling man. He then got someone else to walk along the ladder and help the man to safety. It was a daring rescue and saved him from serious injuries if he had fallen. He was rushed to the hospital where he was treated for minor burns and was able to go back to work the following day. They could have at least given him a day or two off to recover from the trauma. Number 3. Kickass Rescue. In 2013, during the San Diego Comic-Con, a woman appeared to be considering taking her own life by jumping from a balcony. Way to ruin a fun event. Witnesses originally thought it was part of the show because stuntmen from the Kickass 2 movie were setting up a performance nearby, but it soon became clear that things were far more serious than they had realized. The stuntmen were on a scissor lift beside the building when they heard screams and panic and turned around to see the woman hanging with 1 foot off the 14th floor balcony. One of them managed to quietly sneak up behind her and hug her until the others could arrive to help take her to safety. Once on the ground, police interviewed the woman and said that she was heavily intoxicated and distraught after breaking up with her partner. As soon as she had been rescued and realized what was happening, she began apologizing profusely. If the Kickass stunt crew hadn't been nearby when it all happened, the end of the story could have been tragic. Number 2. Ingrid Betancourt. Ingrid Betancourt was a presidential candidate in the 2002 Colombian elections, but following a campaign stop in the south of the country, her life would take a completely different turn. She was an outspoken critic of FARC, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, and rather than risk her becoming president and taking action against them, they kidnapped her without ransom. For the following 6 years, she was held by the group. Authorities had no idea where she was being kept, so they weren't able to mount a rescue attempt. No ransom was demanded. The rebels had achieved exactly what they had aimed to do and had prevented her from winning the election. In 2008, though, this all changed. An elaborate operation had Colombian officials pose as members of a neutral organization. They managed to convince those that were holding Betancourt and 14 other hostages that they were going to fly them all to meet with Alfonso Cano, the leader of FARC. the kidnappers fell for the ruse and released the prisoners into their custody. Betancourt and others were finally saved after living tied up like animals for 6 years. Betancourt returned to the world of politics. Rather than trying to become president, she instead turned her focus on raising awareness and providing support to other political prisoners that have been unjustly captured around the world. Number 1. Florida Water Rescue. This final rescue shows just what can happen when a group of people work hand in hand together. It happened in Florida in 2017 near the M.B. Miller County Pier. A young boy had gone into the water, despite being warned not to do so because isn't that what kids do? He got caught in the current and started getting swept away. His family heard his screams and went in to rescue him, but they themselves got caught by the riptide and were pulled further out. In all, 9 members of the family were stranded, and this is when something truly amazing happened. People on the shore saw what was happening and simply refused to accept that the family would drown. More than 80 people formed a human chain, stretching all the way out from the shore to within a few feet of where the family were. Those at the end were able to get hold of the people, pass them down along the line, and back to shore. The mother suffered a heart attack during the ordeal and was rushed straight to the hospital. But things could have been so much worse if it hadn't been for the kindness and quick thinking and organization of the other beachgoers that day. Thanks for watching! Have you ever participated in a rescue? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye!